Dobro večer. I'm sorry, that's my only 2 words, so I apologize. Now, the first question, because it affects what I'm going to do with the wonderful Peter, is who does not understand English? Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. You're so educated. I've had a fantastic time at this festival. I don't go to festivals at all. I get very nervous. But I've had such a wonderful time here that I can't wait to come back. Now, I thought it might be interesting if I told you a little bit of the background to this film, which is complicated, but I'll try and make it as simple as I can. I first met Leonard Cohen on the backstage in the Isle of Wight in 1970. And we talked a bit, and then I wrote a long article about him, and that was it. I thought that would be the end. And then in October 1971, I had a phone call from his manager in New York saying, would I come to New York to discuss a project? I didn't know what the project was at all. So over I go to New York, and luckily I took with me a copy of a book of his poems, because I didn't know what the project would be, but I thought at the least I can get a Leonard Cohen signature in a book of poems. I thought at the smallest thing, that's it. So I go to the office of the manager, and I was not expecting to meet Leonard at all, but he was there. So being a very polite Englishman, I go across to shake his hand, and the first thing I heard was the manager behind me saying, Leonard, leave the room. So I'm going towards Leonard, and he's sort of backing away. I thought, this is not a good beginning. When Leonard was outside of the room, the manager explained to me why they needed and wanted a film. What Leonard did not know, which is why he'd been told to leave the room, was that his record company at that time was going to cancel his contract, because his records did not sell. So, no contract. Leonard comes back in now. And the manager said to Leonard, or told me that Leonard had said that he promised to do this tour in the spring of 1972, but that was it, finish, end. He was not a parrot, he says that in the film, as you will see, and he did not want to just go on to endless stage singing these songs. So the manager was faced with a very big problem. If you were a manager and you had an artist at the beginning of the 70s who did not want to tour and had no record contract, this was commercial disaster. Therefore they needed a film. So I looked at Leonard and I said, well, and he said, now, you know that I do not want to make this film. Well, I'm right here. This is getting ridiculous. So I said, well, can we begin the conversation? So he said, yes. He said, if Leonard, agrees to make the film, there are 3 big conditions. The first is that I do not want a film about a tour. Then we went here, then we went there, then we went here, then we went there. And you'll see in the film, you really don't know, except in the end in Jerusalem, where you are. You know, you're in a concert of Leonard Cohen's, but you don't know which city you're in. That was very important. He did not want a film about a tour. Second condition was, he did not want to be portrayed in whatever film we made as the writer of sentimental little love songs about Marianne or Suzanne or whoever his girlfriend was that weekend. He didn't want that at all. Because, condition number 3, and by now I'm nervously clutching the book of poems, and before we got to condition number 3, he pointed to it and he said, oh, so you know I'm a poet? And I said, yes. I discovered your poetry 5 years before I realized that you also sang songs. Ah, he said, condition 3, you will know and understand that for me, for Leonard, my songs, my poems are very political with a small p. They're really about the world in which we live, not about all the girlfriends. They're about something else. And I said, those are no problem for me, any of those. Those are very simple. And then he smiled and he said, have you got any conditions? And I said, 1. What is that? I said, whatever happens in the tour, we will be with you all the time, every day and night. Whatever happens, you must never close the door. He thought about that, and he said, I agree, but I'm not quite sure why you're asking that. And I said, well, you know, I just don't want to have the door slammed in my face if there's something interesting happening. It had one wonderful consequence. It was a tiny crew. I mean, the total number of people, if you add up his band, the stage crew and the film crew, which was 4 people, was 22 people. It's a tiny little group. And we all went and stayed in the same hotel. One night we were in Sweden in the same hotel. And Leonard suddenly said, there's a sauna bath here. We should all get in the sauna bath, he said. I said, fine, remembering don't shut the door. So we got into the sauna, took off all our clothes, got into the sauna bath with the camera. I'm not going to tell you what happened in the sauna bath. But when we looked at the film, of course it was hot and steamy and you couldn't see anything. So I shot this wonderful sequence which was completely invisible, pointless. But he was as good as his word. He never closed the door, not once. And as you will see in the film, this had some wonderful consequences. I mean, it was really intimate look with no managers, no record executives, no of those dreadful PR people getting in the way. It was just us. Fine. I edit my own films. And the filming took a month, and I edited the film very, very quickly, 2 or 3 weeks maybe. So we're talking about 7 weeks, maybe 8 weeks altogether. And I showed him the film. And I think the truth is, he didn't say that he liked it or didn't like it. What he was worried about was that the word he kept using was confrontational. And it took me years to work out what he meant by confrontational. Now, I did an incredibly stupid thing. I've never done it before, and I've certainly never done it since. I said to Leonard, well, here's the material, you know, take it away and I'll provide an assistant editor for you, and you can take out the bits that you're worried about, and then we can argue about it, thinking I would see him 3 or 4 weeks later. Now, I know that the value of money has changed, but until the moment that I stopped, we had spent approximately $30,000. The manager had said to me that because Leonard did not want to make the film, did not want to do the tour, that the manager would pay for it so that Leonard didn't feel the pressure of his money being spent on something he didn't want to do. Just remember $30,000. So we're up to now about May of 1972. 2 years later, and $285,000 of his own money, he came up with version 2, which he absolutely hated. I mean, he told me he hated it. But of course, in those days, it's celluloid, and once you start cutting celluloid, it's very hard to piece it back together again. So for the next 36 years, and I saw Leonard quite often, he said to me always, where's the film? And I said, Leonard, why are you asking me? You tell me where the film is. I think he knew, but he was so embarrassed by what had happened and ashamed of what had happened that he didn't want to admit where the film was. So effectively, it was completely lost for 36 years. You could get very bad bootleg copies, which had been taken off an obscure German, all television in Germany is obscure, but it was often obscure because it had little German subtitles. But it was terrible. The picture quality was terrible, sound was terrible. I just wrote it off as a lost project, really. Now, I also am responsible for making the worst film in the history of the universe. It is called 200 Motels with Frank Zappa. Don't tell me you like it. Anyway, it has a huge cult following. And Frank Zappa had died, and the manager called me one day, Frank Zappa's manager called me and said, I've now got back all the rights to this film. Shall we have another go? Trying to make a bit more sense of it, because it's a crazy film. And I said, sure. So he said, I will go down to the warehouse where all of Zappa's material is kept, and I'll get it out and we'll have a go. A week or so later, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, London time, so 8 o'clock in the morning in Hollywood, he rings me and he says, I found the Zappa material and I'm looking at 28 enormous boxes labelled Burn on a Wire. And they're not the Goldie Hawn film because they're in terrible condition. I said, he was called Herb. They're all called Herb in America. I said, Herb, get back in there, give them money, bribe them, get them drunk, whatever, but get the material out and send it to London, which he did. Imagine, I think we found the film. Champagne goes in the icebox. I'm very excited. And about a month later, these enormous, I mean, it would have almost filled this stage, these enormous boxes, containers with the boxes in arrived. And I'm really hyped up and excited. So I opened one box, and I realized straight away that it was not the film. It was all the material that we had not used. My version or his version. So champagne in the fridge, in the bucket. Razor blade comes out, wrist, and my wife says, no, don't do it. You've got 3 small children. You can't do that. So I was in complete despair. We got so close and yet so far away. So I left it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then finally I thought, well, I must get all of this material pushed into one part of my archive. It's blocking everything. And I accidentally knocked over another one of these enormous boxes. And out of this box fell a big roll of sound, 16mm sound. And it had my notes on it. So I realized that this was the original sound mix of version 1. Now, as you know, film, unfortunately, has both sound and pictures. I now have the sound. And what you're going to hear in a minute is approximately 70% of this roll. We had to reconstruct other bits. Where am I going to get the pictures? So I'm now opening every box, and there were, I think, 296 cans of film, and they were rusted, completely shut. And I was having to get a hammer and a chisel to get into them. And of course, celluloid, the moment you touched it, if it was old, it disintegrated. So we gently got out opened each can and gently got out the film, and we put it on a flat bed. And I'm now winding it through with my fingers, very slowly. And I said, that picture, I don't know where that picture goes. It was like a jigsaw puzzle, I had the sound. Now that picture goes there. And then I found another bit, and that goes there. They weren't exactly the same, but they were similar, they were enough. So the picture that you're going to see is made up, and some of the fragments were tiny, they were this big. So every time we found something, cleaned it very carefully by hand, then we cleaned it electronically, and then we stored it digitally so that we could finally, we hoped, put together a film. And the picture that you're going to see is made up of approximately 3,000 little fragments. That was how we pieced it back together again. I don't think you'll notice. I hope you will. Relax, you haven't seen the film yet. Now, we've got the film. I was very nervous about it ever being shown in the cinema. So I thought the only hope for it is to make a DVD, sometimes maybe put it on television. This is around 2010. Now, the process of finding these fragments and putting them back together again, that took 7 months. Remember, the original took 7 weeks. This took 7 months. I thought I was never going to get to the end. Right, no cinema projection, I thought, just a DVD. And I couldn't think what to put on the DVD. So I asked the American distributor, what should we put on the DVD cover? And he said, you gotta have a picture of them on cover, otherwise no one will know what this is. So I thought, no, that's really tricky. And I suddenly remembered the great Picasso dove, which seemed perfect the moment I thought about it. Bird on a wire. There it is, bird on a wire. So I said, I know nothing about, well, very little about the word art, but I had a very great friend, an old girlfriend, who did. So I said, what do you think the chances are of getting permission from the Picasso estate to use bird on a wire? She said, none. Right, why? She said, well, the Picasso estate doesn't need the money, and they never give permission for anything that is not directly related to what they do. But I can give you, if you don't believe me, I can give you a number in Madrid, and you can call her and she will tell you the same. Dial the number in Madrid. And this very nice woman answered the phone. And I later discovered, like many Spanish grandees, she was the Principessa de Duchessa de Principessa de somewhere else, 16 titles. But she was really sweet, and she said, what do you want? And so I explained, and she said, well, you know, we never give permission, and I'm really, really sorry. And then there was a pause, and she said, who gave you this number? And I still didn't really know who I was talking to. And I talked about my old girlfriend. I don't like titles, but it was important. I said, well, she's a friend of mine called Lady Ascot. Ding, that went with the woman on the other end, the Principessa de Duchessa, or whatever. She said, all right. She said, have you got the artwork which you want to use? And I said, yes. She said, can you send it to me? So, fine, I sent it to her. She rang immediately up, and she said, the answer was no. Why did you put the dove in gold? And I said, well, I thought it looked wonderful. And she said, but the original is in blue. I said, madam, don't move. You'll have it in blue in less than 5 minutes. So, of course, we photoshopped and sent it straight back. And again, I think, like Leonard and the Book of Poems, I think that broke the ice. So she said, all right, have you got the film? I said, yes. She said, send me a copy of the film. And I've got the artwork, and I promise you we will talk about it, but don't be optimistic. I waited for about 6 weeks, and the phone rang one afternoon, and it was the Principessa de Duchessa, whatever, and she said, we've seen the film. I later realized that we was actually Paloma Picasso. She was not on the phone, but she had shown the book of the film. And she said, at the end of the film, we all cried. You will cry too, we all cried. And we give you permission to use the dove. I dropped the phone. I mean, I was just, I had no... we put a little sum of money aside to pay for the rights, just in case. And I thought, how do I approach the Picasso estate and say, you know, we'd like to pay for the rights to use the film? And it was I kept hinting about this, but she didn't want to respond. And there's that wonderful word, which I'm sure you know, an honorarium. Sounds good. So I said, madam, we'd like to offer you a really modest honorarium for using the Picasso dove. And she said, Mr. Palmer, you are not listening to me. I just told you we are giving it to you. And I burst into tears. I thought that was amazing. And that's a tribute to Leonard Cohen. It's not a tribute to me, but I mean, I thought that really is something. Two little footnotes before I stop rambling on. The first is that we sent it to Leonard. Remember, confrontational. Now, I've worked several times with a famous, great actor called Richard Burton. And Richard Burton never, ever wanted to see himself on the screen, ever. And I asked him, why not? And he said, well, you know, my nose is like that, my eyes like this, my hair's terrible, I've got pock marks here, I know I've got this good voice, but I can't hear it. I have no idea why people like me. And of course, what I realised was that, you know, this great actor of enormous experience, he didn't want to see what he looked like on the screen. He could give a performance, he didn't want to see it. And of course, the penny dropped. Leonard had never had a film made about him until this point. So he'd never seen himself on the screen. So suddenly he's looking at himself on a big screen. I can't see, my nose is like this, my eyes are like this, you know, I look terrible, I sound old, blah, blah, blah. I'm 35, I don't want to know this. That's what he meant by confrontational. So I wrote to him. I kept him informed about what was going on, and I wrote to him eventually and said, I'd really like you to see the film, and I hope you're not going to be offended again. And he sent me a wonderful letter back, in which he said, blah, 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 very nice that film. He said, the last bit was, he said, I'm very glad the problem has gone away. And I thought, that's it. You know, he thought he'd lost our friendship. He thought he'd wrecked what possibly had been a good film. And finally, there was something there of which he could be proud. Last thing, he's Canadian, as you know, was Canadian, and the Toronto Film Festival said that they wanted to have the world premiere in Toronto. Would I go and introduce the film? I said, absolutely, of course. So I went to introduce the film, a shorter version of the story I've just told you. And a week before I went, they rang me and said, completely sold out. Can we have a second screening? And I said, of course. So I go to the first screening, blah, 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 and it seemed to go quite well. And I'm in the foyer outside, waiting for the second screening to start. And this very nice woman came up to me and she jabbed me here. My God, I can feel it now. She jabbed me here and she said, young man, I like that bit. She said, young man, you have ruined my love of Leonard Cohen. Sorry? You have ruined my love of Leonard Cohen. I said, what do you mean? And so I said, have you seen the film? Did you go last night? She said, yes, you've ruined my love of Leonard Cohen. I said, what did you not like? Not like, she said, the performances of the songs, which are familiar, as you all know, are so emotional and so from the heart and so clearly inspirational. She said, I went home and I got out my LPs of the same songs and they're terrible. So that's it. That's how this film came about. It was a long journey and since then it had some success and I'm very grateful. And I repeat what I said at the very beginning. I'm incredibly grateful that you've come. I mean, it's just amazing to me that Leonard Cohen, well, it's not surprising that Leonard Cohen's reputation is so good to bring you all here. But I really hope you enjoy the film. I didn't know there were going to be so many people. So I've only brought a few copies, a really few copies, I apologise for that. But I will be outside afterwards, and I'm happy to talk to you, and I'm happy to sign a few copies I've got, and hear your reactions. But anyway, thank you again, I really appreciate it.